Everyone, welcome to another stream. It's part 2 of the summer update, whatever you want to call it. Basically, it's 2 events back to back that are summer related. My cat's trying to join in with this stream. I can hear a lot of noise going on. Anyways, Summer Meredy is the unit this time, which was expected because they did tease the unit. Will you be quiet, Mr. Cat? And she looks great personally, but when I saw what skills she had and what she had in her kit, I wasn't super excited, and because of that I haven't really looked too much into this unit. So as you can see, I've already got the unit, but that's not because I did so many summons. What are you trying to do, you stupid cat? I think he wants to get in bed or something. But I only did like a few singles and I already got everything I wanted, so today's gonna be probably not as long of a stream because there isn't much that I want to do, but there isn't going to be any summons because I don't need to summon today. So let's get on. We're looking at the unit first. Seriously, what is he doing? He's trying to dig into my bed covers. Weirdo. So, Surfside Inventor Meredy, and by the way, there is still Sera is still here. Can you stop being a pain? Sera's still here. So you have a choice basically, but I already... Let's have a look at Meredy. I haven't looked too much at her skills and everything. So this is kind of my first time proper. Don't need to talk too much about that. Element resistance looks okay, but no stun resistance, but that's not a big deal. Abilities. Now, this is another ice attribute unit. She is going to be a single wield ice attribute unit, and Sera was a dual wield ice unit. So, yes, I think the majority of people are going to be comparing Meredy and Sera because they want to know which one they want to get. Well, we'll be talking more about that later on, comparing them, but we'll mostly talk about Meredy for now. Skill 1. All of her skills are kind of basic, in my opinion. They don't look anything special to me. Personally, Sera's skill 1 and skill 2 look way faster than Meredy's skills, so from the looks of it, Meredy's skills don't look very fast. So for that reason, I don't think her DPS is going to be that crazy, and I don't know what her DPS could be, but it could probably be pretty decent. I just don't think it's going to be... I don't even know if it's going to be as good as Summer Sera or not, because hers DPS is actually pretty good, and I've been enjoying Sera quite a lot, and she's quite amazing, but I'm going to try not to talk about Sera too much until later on. Skill 1, charge and deal a frontal medium area ice combo attack, just a basic skill. Skill 2, I think, is a more interesting skill because it is a long range attacking skill. So that means you can use it anywhere, but you can't really spam her skill 2 very fast. Like Sera's skill 2 you can spam very fast, but it's got low hit counts. Meredy's skill 2 is kind of a delay. I have seen a bit of gameplay of Meredy, so I kind of know what her skills are like. Her skill 2, there is a bit of delay, so you can't just keep spamming the skill 2 button as fast as you want it to, but I think it's still an okay skill. I think surprisingly her skill 1 has more break value than her skill 2, which is a bit strange. She is going to be a breaker unit, but I don't think her breaking values look crazy, and we've already got other breaker units in the game, and she's single wield, so we'll see. Skill 3, charge and deal a frontal medium area ice combo attack, basically says exactly the same thing as her skill 1, even though it's a different skill. So skill 1 and skill 2 you need to be in range to be able to use her skills, but since they say they are both a charge skill, then it probably has some range to it, but not too much, because I believe you still got to be literally in line of sight to the enemy, and most of the time that's going to be annoying, especially if you're in PvP content, which I don't think she's going to be an arena unit or anything, definitely not. But against PvE and bosses and stuff like that, it's probably not a big deal. And her special's just a powerful ice combo attack to one enemy. Personally, these skills, these abilities don't look very interesting to me. I think the animations are okay, it's just, yeah, I'm not really too excited about these abilities because they're all kind of basic. Long range skill 2 is good to have, but kind of the rest of it I'm not really that excited about. Now we move on to the traits, which always gets more interesting here. There is quite a few things that are interesting in her traits, but they're good and bad. Let's have a look at the trait 1 first. When only a weapon equipped is one hammer, so you need to have one hammer equipped. Then during skill attacks, enemies are more likely to faint and break 200%, which is quite a lot. Damage 50% and damage caps 60,000 to enemies in faint or break. So I can see some potential, it's just kind of too niche and it may not even be able to be used. Reason why is because for this she's going to need obviously a lot of break, and obviously if you can only break bosses, so that's going to make her good against bosses only, but she's locked to being ice as well, so that's kind of limiting her usage. But this also increases damage against fainted enemies, which you'll see in her paid equipment 2. Her paid weapon is an interesting one, which I'll look at much later, but there is quite a few things related to break and faint, which is interesting, but personally for me, they are not a meta thing right now. Like fainting, it has never really been a problem because a lot of units do have faint nil, and they can't faint anyway, so it doesn't really matter because you can't really faint units in arena. Like, when does that ever happen? It doesn't really happen that often, does it? Because you've either got Spirit Maiden 3 in your team, which gives everyone faint nil anyways, for a little bit, or the unit has some kind of paid equipment or something with faint nil, or they've already got it in their kit anyway. So I personally haven't checked which units do have faint nil, but I feel like quite a few do. So one thing to note is the fact that the break damage and damage cap to enemies in faint or break. So yeah, it's a bit of a weird wording now I read it. Let me just try and understand this better. Basically, I think what it means is if you're using a skill attack, then you get 200% more break, but if the enemy is in faint or break, then you get 50% damage and 60,000 damage cap. That's what it sounds like to me. That's what it looks like. When unit puts enemy into break, give a physical attack damage 30% buff and restore HP to all allies. Now that's good, that's pretty interesting, and I could see that being useful because let's say even if she isn't an amazing breaker, she can support the team if someone else in your team is a better breaker than her, because she's definitely not going to be the best breaker, but if you use a different breaker, you're going to benefit from this trait because it's going to give everyone a physical damage buff and restore their HP, which isn't crazy now you think about it, but it's something, I guess. So trait 1 for me looks okay. It's just a lot of conditional things in there. Probably come back to that. 60,000 damage cap is a lot, but you just got to remember that's only when the enemy is in break or if they are fainted, either one. So most of the time that isn't going to do anything. If you're just up against a boss or in arena, that's not going to do anything for you. You're not going to get that damage or damage cap, which sucks, but could be good. Trait 2 is also interesting to me. This one's probably more interesting. 40% damage and 17,000 damage cap to ice damage, which is good. Nothing crazy. Battle Start give unit Aqua Machine buff. So I've had a look at this buff a little bit and I don't think it's that crazy. Usually units with unique buff icons or debuffs are usually very good, but this buff itself isn't that amazing because it doesn't last very long and it takes like 10 seconds for it to come back. So if you need this buff active, then it's not very reliable, I think, compared to other units that have unique icon buffs. Those are usually more reliable. So what this buff does, well, when you're skill attacking, when you have the buff, there's a chance to lose the buff, which I don't know why they needed to put that in. A set time after loss, re-give the buff to a unit, which I believe is 10 seconds, which could be too long, and I don't know what the chance is. When skill attacking, lose buff. Right, a set time after loss, re-give buff to unit. And what this buff does is it gives physical damage taken minus 40%, which is pretty good, obviously. When using a skill during the buff, it can't be interrupted by most attacks, and you get 50% skill damage and 15,000 damage cap, which is nice, but it's just this buff isn't reliable enough to be good, and if you look, most of this trait is to do with this buff. The only other thing you're getting from this trait is obviously the ice damage and damage cap up here, but the rest of this trait is just to do with the buff. And if you don't have the buff active, then it's basically this trait's not doing very much, is it? No. But when you do have the buff, obviously you're going to be taking 40% less damage from physical attacks, which is very good. And you can't be interrupted by most attacks when using a skill, and you get more damage and damage cap, but it does say when skill attacking you lose the buff, so by the way that it's worded, it sounds like you use one skill and the buff goes away, and that just sounds like that's very bad to me, so it's a bit worrying. I just feel like this buff is not going to be active enough to be good, but if this buff were to be active most of the time, it would be an amazing buff, obviously, and you could stack this with other buffs and debuffs from other units to allow this unit to take even less damage, and it could be amazing. Like Sera has a debuff for enemies to deal 30% less damage. This could be great on top of that, but it's just this buff isn't reliable enough, so yeah, traits not too exciting for me personally. There are a few problems with this, but let's have a look at the skills now. I haven't properly checked all of her skills, so this is going to be kind of my first time properly checking everything. Attack up max, Fighting Spirit 5, critical up 2 and 3. That's some nice crit that she's got, but why doesn't she have auto critical? I don't know. She should, but she doesn't. Illusion, auto protection, auto haste, awaken 2. See, you think that she would be pretty tanky because she's got auto protection and illusion and awaken, those tank type skills that you usually get on tank units, and then 40% less physical damage. Sounds amazing, right? Well, yes and no. Reason being, yeah, I'm kind of thinking about it. I came up with an idea just now, but reason being, let me just go back to this. Reason being, if you use a skill, you lose the buff, right? Obviously, there's a big problem, but what if you don't use a skill? What if you just don't use any skills? Obviously, that's not going to happen in PvE against bosses, so the reason why I'm bringing that up, in Arena, you could potentially use her as your main tank. I am still standing by, I don't think she's going to be tanky enough to be a main tank, but I'm just saying if, a big if, which is, she's going to be spamming Blizzard, not use any skills at all, which means this buff should always be active, right? A set time after loss, re-give buff to unit when skill attacking, lose buff. Yeah, so it doesn't say she loses the buff after a certain amount of time, right? So, for that reason, she could just be a tank using Blizzard in Arena, and she's always going to take 40% less physical damage. That sounds okay to me, and maybe you could do something with that, but from what I've seen, I don't think she's going to be able to be tanky enough to be a full tank, so I don't think it's a good idea, but it's an idea, at least. And I would like to test it, but it would kind of require you to get her paid clothes, which I don't really want to get, honestly, but that's something to think about that I just thought about. Pride 2, Ice High Drive, Ice Tac Race 3, Ice Enhance. Good skills. She doesn't have Ice Mega Drive, but we'll come to that soon because the arc's pretty nice. Gotta admit, I like the arc. When I was pulling on this banner, I just wanted to get the arc. That was the only thing I cared about on this banner, but we'll look at that soon. Ice Chance 3 is a new one. Ice damage cap to enemies in feint or break. More conditional damage caps. It is a bit worrying though, because she's got so much damage and damage cap locked behind enemies being in feint or break. And if the enemy isn't in feint or break, then it just feels like you're not using her full potential, and it's quite difficult to feint an enemy most of the time. And breaking isn't a big deal, it just depends on the boss you're up against, and you can only break bosses, so against normal enemies or enemies not bosses, you're not really going to get much from that. Ice Weak Point Breakthrough 2, basically just more damage cap when you're hitting a weakness, which is okay. Pose of Glory. Pirate's Feast, I do like Pirate's Feast, I admit. I like that. Maybe this could be used in multiplayer, where this unit could be used in multiplayer, potentially. But most people have been using Zayix for multiplayer, obviously, but I'm just thinking, maybe Summer Meredy could be an amazing unit in multiplayer, because she's already got Pirate's Feast, and since she's got a lot of break, maybe she'll be a decent enough breaker to break the boss in multiplayer, and then she'll do insane damage, hopefully, and that just sounds good. Head Bash makes sense that she would have this, because she does have a lot of damage and damage caps, specifically when enemies are in feint. This will just help a little bit. Piercing is nice, Shockwave 2 is good. These are usually mostly PvP skills, but like I said, she isn't really that amazing in Arena unless we're missing something. At least what I've seen so far. Favored Sword, Two-Handed Hammer Boost, Hammer Mega Boost. Now, one thing I've wanted to see is, do we have a two-handed hammer on an arc? Because that would be pretty important, and I don't know, because I haven't had a look. I should probably check, but if it is, then obviously I would still have it. I would have it learnt already, because I have every skill learnt on Meredy already. If I type in hammer, we've got hammer boosts, hammer high boosts. Morning Star was Rem. Yeah, we do have two-handed hammer, so that's great. That is on an SSR arc, so make sure to put on two-handed hammer if you are using her in PvE, and that's going to increase her damage by 20%, critical rate 10%, 5,000 damage cap. You could do that, and that's just going to be even more damage cap. So it's 12 SC, it's quite expensive, but I wish he had it in her kit already, but it's fine. Close high boost is nice, special boost 3. In my opinion, just a wasted skill, since I'm not going to be using her special pretty much ever. Chance Drive, more damage to enemies in feint or break. Yeah, sure, why not. One Blade Breaker 2, this one's good. I believe we have one Blade Breaker on a arc. Pretty sure we do. And you could put that on her, and it sounds to me like she could get a lot of break modifiers from skills, so I'm hoping that makes her good enough of a breaker with more breaker skills on top, because I'm not seeing a Breaker in here, or Destroyer, or anything like that. But One Blade Breaker 2 is a new one. One Blade Breaker, stack that on, that'll be great. Because I do remember, what is this? This is reminding me of Starn, I think, because he's a fire unit and his break. He was like the first single-wheeled unit that actually had decent break. I'm ignoring Lanceville. I'm ignoring him. But Starn, he was a pretty good breaker, honestly, as a single-wheeled, because I remember using One Blade Breaker on him at one point. And then Giant Killing 3, more damage to bosses and damage cap is going to help. And then we get to the unique skills, which are always like these. When enemy break gauge is less than 30%, then break 100%. This is only going to help a little bit, because, yeah, it's just, you get more break when the enemy is close to being broken, so it's just a little boost to break when the enemy's almost in break. That's kind of it. For every living ally other than the unit, break plus 25%. There's another breaker type skill, which still makes me think, because, yeah, what I'm thinking is, this is more break, obviously, and you've got the One Blade Breaker 2. You've got these two, which we don't have on arcs currently for learnable skills, so for that reason, it just seems like she has unique skills for break, and we have other skills that she doesn't have in her kit that you could put on top to make it even higher. And that's kind of what I'm hoping, is that the adding every single breaker skill on learnable arcs that you've got, I'm hoping that that is good enough to make her a solid breaker and a good option for a breaker unit. But that's going to be down to testing, and I want to try that at some point, but that's hard to test because you have to do it against bosses and things, but definitely making me think about that, because these are unique skills. When equipped with only one weapon, physical damage cap, 15,000, that's great. When unit has blind, strength 50%, that's a weird one. That's funny. Blindfold, autofocus, great. When you have blind, you have 50% more strength. It's a weird one, honestly, very strange. And this one, hammer equipped, ice damage cap, 7,000, great. And then when you're hitting a weakness, 5,000 more, very nice. Continuous speed and battle start given SET recovery speed plus 35% buff. So, here's the thing with this. So, continuous speed is going to be active all the time, and at the start of the battle you're going to get basically high haste. That's basically what it's equivalent to. 35% SET recovery speed buff at the start of the battle, but it's not going to stack with haste, which she does have already, which is a weird one. And you may think, why does she have both? Well, the reason being is because once this one runs out, I believe auto haste should then take over. So after this buff is gone, then auto haste should take over instead. So it's basically at the start of the battle, you're going to get 15% more SET recovery speed than haste until that buff goes away or you die, and then the auto haste should take over that, and it's just going to be, it's not really that much of a difference, honestly. And then you've got her 6th enhanced skills, which again, nothing too crazy, but she does have some damage caps. So you get 3, 6, 9,000 damage cap for skills. Definitely worth getting these 3 for sure. And then these 2 you can just skip, because special damage cap on this unit, you don't need it. You really don't. I always skip those. Special damage in general and special damage units have just kind of fallen off, in my opinion, because I don't really ever use them anymore. Just because it's time stop, I know, but content hasn't really required it, and we've got better ways to do damage, like spamming physical attacks and skills is just way better. in general. And then physical damage taken minus 10% is going to help a little bit. If you want to use her in arena or any PvP content, you could try that, and this will help a little bit, but I'm just thinking, honestly. Yes, she's got this buff for minus physical damage, and you could try and turn her into a full tank and use Blizzard, or some stupid thing like that, but honestly, I don't think that's going to be great. I really don't, because we've got better units as a tank, and she is ice, so yeah, she's going to die pretty easily by thunder attacks. And if you've got her paid clothes, yes, that's going to help a lot, especially if you want her to be tanky. You're definitely going to need her paid clothes. It's kind of similar to Jian, but we'll look at her paid equipments in a bit. But overall, what I'm seeing here is interesting, and yeah, it looks okay to me. She's got 200% break on her trait 1, and yeah, it just looks okay. It's just, to me, I'm not super excited because she seems to be more focused towards fainting and breaking, and those two things aren't really super important. Obviously breaking is important, but I don't think her break is insane. I don't think it's going to be at the top or anything, because we've got other breakers in the game that are still going to have better break values than her, so I think the benefit is that she's going to do a lot of damage when enemies are in break, and she does have break to help that. So if you think about that, that is good, because if you remember Joker from the Persona collab, he wasn't a breaker, but he did a lot of damage to enemies that was in break. But this Meredy has both. She is a decent breaker, and she does also have a lot of damage when enemies are in break. But I don't think she has anything to make break last longer, is a thing. But we have arcs and things for that. So it still looks okay to me. It's an interesting kit. It's just not something that I think is currently meta, and it's not something we currently need, is the problem. Good skills though, and I'm still looking forward to trying her out properly, but we'll see. We'll have a look later. So that's Meredy. She seems okay to me. She's not bad. It's just, definitely if you compare Meredy to Sera, Sera's definitely the better option. Then we get the limited arc right here. This arc, I'm actually more excited about this arc than the unit personally, because I think this arc's a pretty good arc. Definitely an arc worth having. The trait, actually very good. You get 25% ice physical damage and 50% break. 50% break isn't too much for an arc trait, honestly, because we've got other arcs with like 120% break, which is way higher obviously, but good thing with this arc trait is it gives damage as well, so think of it just as a little bonus. You get damage and you also get break, so it's still good. When a unit puts an enemy into break, restore 1 ST stock for all skills. That's pretty good too. That's pretty great, honestly. Not much to say about that really. One thing I am interested in about this trait is the final part here, which is each wave gradually boost ice attack damage cap. Maximum of 3,500. That's pretty good. 3,500 is comparable to a UR arc trait, but obviously it says it boosts it gradually each wave. I don't know if it means boost it over time, or if it means every wave you get a boost, at the start of each wave you get a boost each wave, and a maximum of how many waves you get the maximum boost. I don't know much about this trait, but it just sounds good to me. Like, what I was thinking with this trait is I was hoping that the damage cap would increase the longer that you're in the battle, which would make this very good for boss stages, because then you're being there for longer and you're getting more damage cap because of it. That would be great, but it doesn't say that here. It just says each wave it gradually boosts damage cap. So I don't know much about this trait, but it does have potential for sure, because it's got damage, break, and some SCT, and damage cap. Those are all good things, so it's definitely a good trait to have. And I could see myself using this, honestly. And messing around with the damage cap, I would probably like to do that, because I don't really know much about how this damage cap works, but I was hoping that it's gradually over time once you're in the battle, but I don't know, but it's still a good trait. The learnable skills are pretty good too, honestly. They're actually great, and I'm more excited about the learnable skills, mostly because Ice Mega Drive is here. We love that. Patience, Claw Boost, Ice Chance, whatever. Summer Boot Camp is a new one. 4 SC, each wave gradually boosts physical damage, maximum of 20%. Is it the same thing as the trait? Basically, each wave gradually boosts damage cap, and then the skill is damage. So if you're using this arc trait for that damage cap, then you're probably going to want this skill too. And since this is a unique skill, and it's a passive, then this is going to be great for like having as much damage as possible, but I don't think you can really benefit in arena from this skill. I don't think so. I'm going to need to look more into this skill probably to really understand what it does, but it sounds okay, and for 4 SC I think it could be a decent skill. I don't know how it works properly at the moment. And then Fighter's Insight, don't really care too much about this. It's just another stat increase. When Claw and Cloves are equipped, then you get 50% strength for the Claw and 30% defense and mind for the Cloves. So for 7 SC it's just not worth it, because you just get extra stats and it's not really much, and it's very specific. You've got to have Claw and Cloves, which isn't even Meredy to begin with. That's like Leona, honestly. So yeah, I don't think I'm ever going to use that. Ice Mega Drive though, this one is one I want to talk about more, because 15 FC is expensive, I know, but you get 30% damage and 2000 damage cap. We know we love these skills because it allows you to put on Mega Drive on skills that don't, on units that don't have it already. And just to let you know, there's someone that's really gonna love this, which is Sera, because she doesn't have Ice Mega Drive. I can check that, but I've already checked it. I'm gonna check again, but just to show you that Sera doesn't have Ice Mega Drive. She's got Ice Drive and High Drive, Attack Rates 2 and 3. She doesn't have Ice Mega Drive. I swear they did this on purpose. But yeah, this arc, definitely a good one to have, because Ice Mega Drive, if you've got Summer Sera, then Ice Mega Drive's just going to do very well on Summer Sera, only if you're using her in PvE. So what I was thinking was, if you don't care about Meredy and you care more about Sera, then what you could do, just get Sera and then try and get this arc. Even though they're on 2 different banners, this arc will benefit Sera, which is quite funny if you think about it. This will increase Sera's PvE potential even higher, even if it's not too much. It's still good because she is a dual wield unit. So damage cap for dual wield units, Mega Drive for dual wield units is always amazing. And there's probably a few other Ice DPS units that don't have Ice Mega Drive, but there aren't that many Ice physical DPS units in the game, so it's mostly Summer Sera. Meredy doesn't have it either, but she's single wield, she doesn't need it as much. Our key for rewards is Cloves. The stats are kind of horrible, honestly. Fire and Ice attack damage taken minus 15%. It's a good trait, but it's Cloves. Where would I use it? Who would I use it on? I can't really think right now who I would use it on, but I could see it being useful mostly for either any boss that does a lot of fire or ice damage, or in guild versus guild, on a certain unit, but I can't think of who at the moment, but I'm sure that someone could use this. It's nice to have this. It does give +5 to ice attribute resistance, and that's it. So I just think it's kind of a basic cloth. It's not that amazing, honestly, but it's okay. Maybe I would use this on someone, but there are better options. One thing to think about though is this is all damage, so fire and ice attack damage, which means that will apply to magic and anything like that. All damage instead of only physical, which is interesting because, yeah, I'm thinking about it. That's going to mean you're going to take less damage from Eliza, which is pretty interesting, because you could make a tank specifically to tank Eliza's magic, which could be funny because we've got we've got these cloves for less fire damage taken. I believe the other limited arc has something similar with the accessory, I think. I remember it. Yeah, fire attack damage taken minus 15%. Is funny. You could put on this accessory and also the cloves from the new one, and then you're going to take 30% less damage taken from fire attacks, which is pretty good. This one does apply to ice as well. It's not bad. Personally, I think the best thing about this arc is it's got a solid trait that I can see myself using for sure, and it's got Ice Mega Drive. That's the main two things, in my opinion, that I think are very good. Summer Boot Camp has potential to be good, but I've just got to understand what it means by this, because it says each wave, it doesn't say you boost it over time. Like, some boosts are the longer you're in the battle, the higher the boost is, but this just says each wave. It might just be worded differently, but if it starts at 0% at the start of the battle, then it's probably not going to be as good. I probably won't see myself using it that much, honestly. I still think it's a good arc. Now, what I think about this banner overall, I think the banner isn't as good as Summer Sera, honestly. Main reason being, Summer Sera is a better unit than a Summer Meredy, but the arc on Meredy's banner is probably better, I think. So, yeah, I definitely think, well, I know for sure Sera is the better unit. This arc is actually, yeah, you know what? This banner has a good arc and a good unit. Well, both very good. But this banner, I just don't think it has as much value as Sera's banner, honestly. So, if you have been waiting to decide which banner to pull on, I would definitely say Sera's banner, just because Sera is one of the best arena units in the game right now, comparable to Prefect of God Mia, which was the best unit in arena. But now they are both on the same level on the tier list, so Sera is up there as one of the best arena units. She is amazing. I'm using her on both my attack and defense team. And the arc is also amazing. Like, I don't really talk about this because I talked about it in the other stream, but if you get this, it's still an amazing arc, and it's probably not as good as I thought, because the buff that gives a non-attribute thunder magic damage taken minus 50% buff sounds good, but in practice it's not actually as good as it sounds, because it's the same as one of the other skills, and the total damage taken cap applies means, I believe, is just a limit of 1000 HP. It's basically like a HP barrier that makes you take 50% less damage from non-thunder magic, and then once you've taken a certain amount of damage it goes away, I think. So the trait isn't as great as I thought, but I still think it's a good trait. And the learnable skills, I'll be honest, Faster Vacation 2, way better than I was thinking, because 10 SE and you get all these buffs is just amazing, especially on Summer Sera. This is just going to be so good. So yeah, this banner definitely has more value than Meredy's banner, but Meredy's still a good unit. It's just so far she doesn't seem like she's as exciting as people were hoping for, but she's still a good unit. And the arc, definitely worth having, especially if you've got Sera, because surprisingly, if you've got Sera, then this banner gets more value because of this arc on, which has Item Mega Drive, which can benefit Sera, so that's kind of the main thing. And you can even use this arc trait on Sera if you wanted to, if you really wanted to, and that could work. So there you go. That's just what I think of the banners right now. 2 solid banners, 2 summer units. Obviously, if you're someone that likes summer units like me, then you can just go get both. But I'll tell you something. I pulled for Sera because I thought she was going to be an amazing unit. I didn't plan to pull for Meredy at all. I just wanted to get the arc and leave, but is what it is. Part 2 gacha, yeah, don't summon on this. There's not really any points to summon on that. Part 1's still there. Yeah, that's it for the moment. Ticket gacha, I might as well use these tickets right now. We'll look at paid equipment in a second. Might as well watch these, but I don't need to get anything from here. I doubt it's a red, but there's a small chance that it could be. That might be. 3 animations. There is a red, really? Well, it can't be anything new since I got both. Yeah, well, it's whatever. Could have been amazing. Those are just the 2 tickets from login. I haven't collected the event rewards yet. I did do some of the event, but I haven't farmed it too much yet, because I didn't feel like I needed to. And then the part 1 gacha's still there. And that's pretty much it for banners right now, so... Not super exciting, but I still think this is a solid banner. And if you think about it, this unit and arc isn't going to come back for a super long time, most likely, because these 2 banners, the 2 units and the 2 arcs, are both limited. So, try not to worry about that, but they are both limited, so if you care about getting everything, which you shouldn't, then you're probably going to want to get them now, otherwise they're not going to come back for a long time. But I don't worry about that anymore. I just get what I feel like's good and what I feel like I'm going to have fun with. There's a arc ticket which you can get guaranteed arc. You can select one. I've already got them all, so I haven't really looked at the choices, but I guess I can look at that. Let's have a look at trading space now. I do want to check Meredy's paid equipment in a second. Arc exchange tickets. Let me just check these. Stats, armor, recovery speed, cut faint time, hydro cell buff. Yeah. Arc trait is not something I use, but I tell you what I do use. Actually, oil coating is okay, but I don't use it too much. I did use it a bit, but since most people use Blizzard and Arena, it's just not something I really use that much. This one, for each ally unit of a different gender, less damage taken. There are only 2 genders, so 10%. That's just not much. Duration of buffs, more stats. Orgone ring. Never really had a use for that. This one, whatever. Honestly, those 2 arcs are not that exciting to me, so they're not that great. And then down here you've just got a bunch of other arcs. I'm just going to go through them just to see what there is, but I believe they're just all SSR arcs. Yeah, so it doesn't really matter. Tell you what, why the hell would you get an SR ticket? You would be so dumb if you were to get one of those. If you're a new player, you could potentially get like Sandworm or Pirate Ship if you're missing any of those things, because they would probably give more value to your account and Caldina than these 2 limited arcs, because even though they're limited, and they don't have too much that I use that much. And I'm going from experiences, I don't really use these two arcs that much. So these two arcs are actually quite similar. Lilibet and Theria. You can see a theme. Yeah. If I were to choose one between these two, which would I pick? Probably this one, honestly. Maybe. Because that's not bad. Oil coating isn't bad. But actually, I don't know if Ice Drive is on that many arcs. So if you're missing Ice Drive, you could get that if you want, but Summer Festival I have used a few times, honestly, so maybe this one. I'm not going to give a decision specifically to you. I'm just going to say, get which one you feel like you need more, because they're not that amazing, honestly. There's not one that stands out to me, so I would just say to you, have a look at both of them, read what they have, and see what you feel like you're going to use more on your account, and just go with that one, because there isn't really a wrong choice here. That's kind of all I'm going to say for that arc ticket. The event, I should get these tickets. Always get tickets first before doing summons. That's the #1 rule. There's a prism. Might as well get everything. I farmed this event a little bit. Not too much though. God Relic Prism Shards. All the normal stuff. These materials are actually pretty useful. Ultra Clusters. Good things. I think this event is going to be a better event to farm because there is a chance for you to get one of those limited time stages when you're doing the event, and one of those stages has a rainbow potion in the drop list if you get lucky, and today I did get 500 Mother Souls from one of those stages, so if you need Mother Souls, or even if you're a new player, definitely try and farm this event a lot, or every single event, because that just benefit your account the most. But this was the last event. I should just trade for everything. I'm not going to do that right now, but I've got the majority of the things in there anyways. The medals, you should have gotten a lot of those already. I have a few, just trading for those tickets and the things I feel like are important, and then I'll save the rest for the moment. Now, I've done 5 summons already, only 5. Let's have a look at the paid equipments now, because this is interesting to me. So she's got a paid hammer, ice hammer, which is pretty good. Now, I'll give you my thoughts on these, but let's read the trait first. When only one weapon is equipped, you get 50% break. Obviously she's going to have one weapon because she's a single wield unit. Most of the kit is aimed towards single wield. Ice damage 20%, damage cap 2000. That bit for having one weapon isn't too much, honestly, because usually for a single wield unit, the damage cap would be higher on their paid. That's just the thing I want to mention. Usually it's like 3000 or a bit higher, but 20% damage and 2000 damage cap is basic. We've seen that on most paids and it's okay. It's not really anything special, but what is interesting is the final part here. 100% ice damage to enemies in feint or break. This has some potential, definitely, but there's a few problems with this. Obviously this would be amazing in PvP, but that would mean you would need to have some way of feinting the enemy, and we don't really have any unit that's specifically for feinting, do we? And we've got lots of units that have feint nil already, or Spirit Maiden and Theria can feint nil the whole team, so most of the time units don't feint, and if we probably have some accessories or something that nullifies feint as well. I believe we probably do. Yeah, we do. I think there's the bird thing accessory from a collab, I think. That one. I believe so. Yeah. Then that would mean if you're using Meredy in Guild vs Guild, just for feinting and damage, then the enemy could see you using her and just put on the accessory to feint nil, and she's not going to ever benefit from this 100% damage because they can't feint, you know, and there are still a bunch of units that have feint nil anyways. The good thing about that though is 100% damage to enemies that are in break as well. So if the boss is in break, you're just basically guaranteed a cap, pretty much. But if you're hitting damage cap already, the damage isn't really going to do much, so it sounds good on paper, but if you properly think about it, it's not as amazing as it sounds, honestly. This could make her be useful in more bosses though, because this damage modifier could help. If she can break and then do a lot of damage when they're in break against bosses that have some ice resistance, then she could probably still do some okay damage, honestly. And if she got slayers and stuff like that, then I can see her doing a lot of damage. It's just that is a limited time window which the enemies in break or fainted, so it's a good hammer, honestly, but would I get it specifically? I don't think so, because more break is useful, yeah. Damage and damage caps, kind of, I wouldn't get it for that. The damage is a bonus, yeah, it's good, but in the future, maybe, but right now, the 100% damage is mostly never gonna happen anyways. Paid clothes I'm more excited about, but there's a few problems with this. So, HP, strength, defense, mind, it's got good stats. The trait is similar to like Jian's paid clothes. Nullify anti-soldier type effects. We love seeing that. That means she's not going to be vulnerable to Slayer effects in Arena, which is great, and may make you think that she's going to be a tank, but she's not, trust me. Physical damage taken minus 15%. That's great too. Even less damage taken. When defeating an enemy, restore HP by 30%. See, here's the thing, is the trait is amazing, but just think about what it's really giving you in PvE. Not very much, and we've got better clothes now for PvE, so these clothes are only going to be a good choice if you're going to use her in PvP content in Guild vs Guild or Arena. If you're not using her in either of those areas, then these clothes become basically useless. That's just one thing to think about. And it gives resistance to curse as well and 5 dark resistance. It is good, and I would only consider getting this if she turns out to be very tanky, but I don't think that's going to happen because Jian exists. If you've got Jian, she's still going to be a way better tanker for sure. And I do have an idea, like what I said earlier with Meredy, but I just don't think it's going to work, because she doesn't have enough tank skills to work properly, I think. And yeah, it's kind of in the middle for me. Like, she has some tanking skills, and she's got this paid cloth, which is good. It's just I don't think it's enough, honestly. And if she's using skills, yeah, I really don't think she's going to be tank enough, but if you make sure she doesn't use skills, then, and put as much damage mitigation on as possible, and this paid cloth, then potentially she could be tanky enough in Arena, but I just don't think it's going to be a good idea at all, because we've got other tanks you could just use instead that are going to be better, you know. That's just the one thing I'm thinking about. So, they're both interesting, they're both not bad, it's just, which one would I choose if I were to get one of them? It would depend. If you care more about PvE, then you would definitely get this hammer. But if you really want to use her in Arena or Guild vs Guild, then I would recommend to try her out first and build her first before deciding, because these clothes you're not really going to be using in PvE because it's not really going to do much for you, because bosses don't really have slayers, do they? So for that reason, you're better off using other clothes instead. And I do want to talk about something soon. We do have a new Godforge clothes in this update, so that is the one you should get, and that is the one I am going to be using instead. But again, only get this if you're going to use her in PvP, and don't get it yet because she needs testing first, and if she turns out to be garbage in PvP and has no use, then just get the hammer. That's kind of it, and you don't need to worry about the clothes. But it's a difficult decision, honestly, because it really depends on how she performs, and we don't really know yet. So that's kind of what I think of paid equipment. Now, at this point of the stream, I would do the summons, but I'm already ahead of you on that one, because as you can see, I've already done 5 single summons. So we did 5 singles before the stream, just for the sake of it, and we've got Meredy and this arc already, so somehow. I don't know how it happened, but it was very strange. I did a few singles. First thing I got was the arc, and I was like, I don't need a pull anymore, but I'm gonna do another single just because why not? And then we got Meredy, so that was fun. That was very interesting because I didn't plan to get Meredy anyway, so that's gonna make this stream a bit more interesting, so we can try out Meredy at some point. But let's level up this arc for now, because I definitely want to do that. Get this arc leveled up to level 10 at least, because I definitely want to get Ice Mega Drive on Sera as soon as possible, because if I use Sera in PvE or multiplayer or something, then I'm going to want Ice Mega Drive. In Arena, it's just not worth it, because it's too expensive for just 30% damage. It's mostly for the damage cap. So it gets break at level 5, level 6 gets the SCT and more break and damage. I don't know if I would get this to level 15, but honestly I might, because it's got damage cap and the damage isn't bad either. So because it's a good trait, I can see myself leveling up to level 15. I really could. There's the damage cap at level 8. Looking okay. Obviously it's not going to be as good as a UR arc, but it's still a solid option. I can't get it to level 10 yet. We're almost there. Level 9 is good for now. At level 10, 20% damage, 50% break, 3000 damage cap. So from level 10 to 15, you get 1% physical damage and 100 damage cap per level, which makes a lot of sense. They usually do that for most arcs. So obviously this would be a better arc, but it's a UR arc, so I'm not going to be comparing the two. But just to mention something, this arc would have 25% ice damage here and 3500 damage cap here all the time. Obviously there's more to it than that, but that is the same as a limited arc, but this one is more specific, where it's ice physical damage and it boosts it over time gradually each wave. So yes, it's kind of like a budget UR arc, honestly, but it's still a good one, especially if you don't have this arc. But honestly, I don't really use them that much, because I just use Icy Guardian because it's ice crits anyways. But since she's single wield, you're probably not going to use them, because you can just use El Giovanna because she's single wield, you know. So yeah, that's it for arcs. I would learn everything, but I've already done that. We can get her to 5th enhance now. I learned all of her skills already apart from 5th Enhance, because I only did that recently. Get her to level 100. We'll use this Prism. There should be... I don't know if there is another Prism, there might not be. I think there is one more. There should be one more in the event somewhere. I'm saving those God Relic Prisms for now. I was considering using them on Sera because she's so good, but I'm still deciding on that one. So her ward is not bad, just 100 damage cap when you have a hammer. It's okay. Most units don't use a hammer. We'll get these 5th Enhanced skills and we'll leave her at that for the moment. Not going to do 6th Enhanced yet because that takes a lot more time and I'm not too fussed about it right now. Since I wasn't too excited about testing this unit honestly, but still looking forward to trying it. I just don't think her potential in Arena is that high enough for me to want to build her super fast like I did with Summer Sera, because she was amazing. She is amazing. And this should be pretty much everything now. There we go. So that's all of her skills. Let's look at equipment. So equipment is a bit interesting. She needs to have one hammer, right? And if you look at hammers, we don't have any ice hammers, but the event does have an ice hammer in the event, I believe, which gives ice damage 10% and damage cap 500, which is okay. But is that even the best option? Yes and no. The damage cap helps a tiny bit. It's just not really much at all. And there are better options. The one hammer I'm thinking of using is going to be this one. This hammer's a Godforge hammer, and I wanted an excuse to use this on someone, and this is finally someone I can use it on. It's a non-absolute hammer, gives crit rate and physical damage. It's not crazy, but it's got decent strength, and I think it's worth using. When you get it to plus 40 in Godforge, then it gets 15% physical damage instead of 10. I might do that, but I think this is the best free-to-play hammer you can use, and that's definitely the one I'm going to use. But you could use the event hammer if you want, because that's still a solid option. There are other hammers here, it's just they're not that great. Honestly, we don't have many hammers. This one's only for thunder, and she's ice, so this doesn't really matter at all. You've got no point to use that. And there isn't really anything else. That's an interesting one, you know. More likely to be targeted by enemies on a hammer. Makes me think maybe someone in the future could use this as a tank, you know. Or even Meredy, but I really don't think so. Ancient Hammer gives crit rate. Enemies are more likely to faint. You know what? This hammer's actually pretty good, honestly. It might... I believe there should be some Godforge hammer that I'm missing, I think. I don't know, but this hammer, actually not bad. You could use this because enemies more likely to faint actually goes with her kit quite well. So that's another option. Most people should have these things. Enemies slightly more likely to faint, you know. You've got some options. Chance to break enemy guard, maybe Gnome Hammer. Yeah, we've got a few options. If you really want to, you could try to stun, but there's not really anything you can do. I still think this one is the one I'm going to use most of the time. Definitely my full build, I'm probably going to use this hammer, I think. So we'll stick with that hammer. And for clothes, she can only equip clothes. We have a few options. This one's solid, but it's from a collab. If you don't have this, then don't worry about it, because there's a better one, which is one that I just got today, which is going to be down here somewhere. I should have favorited it. There are a few okay ones, honestly, but definitely the best one is going to be this one. This one had a Godforge today, and with the Godforge it gets skill attack damage. This is going to be her best option for clothes, so this is even better than her paid clothes in PvE because it gives damage and also boosts movement speed, which could help. So for that reason, these clothes you should focus on getting if you've got Meredy and care about building her as much as you want, as much as possible. Then you should try to get these clothes, because it is Godforged clothes, so it may take some time, but it is worth having and worth getting, and I'm definitely going to be using it on her. And the great thing about this is it gives skill attack damage, and I don't know what it gets at max level, but it should be pretty good. Should be pretty good. But these two are two free-to-play options that you can farm, but they are both Godforge equipments, so it may take some time to get them, but they are still the two that I'm going to be using, because I think they are still very good options. Accessories I haven't really thought about, but in general you probably just want ice damage. Yeah, probably just ice damage. There isn't really anything else that I would use on this unit, if I'm thinking about it. So, there is an ice damage accessory somewhere. This could be good, more damage to bosses and movement speed. Movement speed is actually good on Meredy, because her skill 1 and skill 2, she does need to be in line of sight, which means she needs movement speed to use that faster if you really care about that. This one, yeah, I have it on Sera. You could also put this on if you want to. If you're hitting weakness, you could put that on. But for now I'm going to put that accessory on, and probably that other one that I saw. This one. Yeah, I'll probably do this for the moment. More damage, movement speed, damage. That's basically all you need. For PvE, I would probably use something like this, I think. And then we're going to be using her at base skills for the moment with Honey Elixir, and then we'll just go with that. Great. Update. Great timing. I was just about to start trying her out. I don't expect her damage to be very high, considering yeah, I blame that update for what just happened. Let's finally try her out now. What arc will I use for this? It doesn't really matter, honestly. I'll probably just use her limited arc for the sake of it. We'll go into the normal stage. We always do. Her by herself. This is fine. Her base skills looking okay to me. Obviously she's got a lot of stuff that's aimed towards break and feint, which you won't be able to benefit from right now. So this isn't the best showcase, but this is just base damage, base everything. I haven't really tried her out yet. Let's have a look. So, oh, okay, I see. It removed. I was supposed to have Honey Elixir, but the update didn't let me confirm it. Stupid. Probably the worst timing. Yeah, I need to put the equipment on again. That's fine. That's fine. looks weird. I know what I'm using. There you go, now we can go. So, I mostly want to test how fast you can spam her skills, what her damage looks like for the moment. Honey Elixir. So as you can see, she's got the Aqua Machine buff right now, which boosts damage and damage cap and cut chance to flinch. Yeah. I believe she does take less physical damage as well. The cut physical damage taken buff. That's probably from the Aqua Machine. Yeah. Well, I believe as soon as I use a skill, it will disappear. Her base skill stock's 532. Pretty basic. Nothing special about that. Normal attacks. Kinda similar to normal Meredy, honestly. Skill 1. Yeah, I used a skill and now that Aqua Machine buff is gone. Which kinda sucks. Honestly. Aqua Machine buff active, physical damage taken when using a skill. Yeah. Now it's gone. Then I have to wait for it to come back. It's not back yet. Now it came back. So yeah, it's kind of underwhelming, the Aqua Machine buff, because most of the time, if you think about this, it's just a bonus that you're randomly going to get sometimes when you're using skills. So for that reason, when you just enter a wave, you're going to want to use your most powerful skill first, because you're going to get some more damage and damage cap for your first skill that you use in that wave. That's pretty cool. Skill 1, not incredibly fast, but it's okay. Enemies in break, which is interesting. How much damage is she going to do now? Quite a bit more. Okay, now it's dead. Her skill 2 isn't as spammable as I would like. That's the thing I was hoping, I was hoping her skill 2 could be spammed, like Summer Meredy. Well, Summer Sera. They're all summer units, but it's not. Let's do that again, and then I want to see her special, but I don't think it's really going to do much. I should awaken her a little bit too, because why not? It'll take a while for me to get to level 53. Let's do that again. Where is she getting the cut physical damage buff from? Because I'm trying to think about that. I know the Aqua Machine... let's just go. Let's use skill 3 against boss. The break should be decent, right? Well, nothing crazy yet, honestly. Another skill 3. Skill 3 is decently fast. It's just not a close the gap skill, so she needs to be in line of sight for a skill 3. Skill 2 you can spam like this, but it's not that fast. Well, they're dying, which is a good thing, but it's not super impressive, but it's okay, I can get down with this. Because they do all die eventually. The damage against the boss was decent, without any slayers and just base skills only. It's not bad, really. Now I want to try her special out, but this isn't going to do much. I just want to do it for the sake of seeing what it looks like, mostly. So if I do against the boss, now he's got ice weakness because of the skill I had on Sera. Right. Honestly, not bad damage. That's not bad. Yeah, there you go, there's a bit more damage. I want to see, can I even feint the enemy from like normal attacking and stuff? I feel like dual wield units would have an easier time feinting because they got double the amount of hits. The range of the skill 1 is not bad. That's not bad range, honestly, but yeah, I can do S2 anywhere like this. That's pretty fun. Huh. Okay, well, it looks okay to me, so far. Just from base skills alone, they're not super fast. They're not anything crazy like some Sera skills were insanely fast for a skill 1 and skill 2. Meredy can't really compare to that, but they're decent. There's not much I can say about that at the moment. You know, if I wanted to properly test her damage caps, then I would need a breaker or someone to break the boss to be able to do that. So how would I do that? Well, I have an idea. Just thinking what I can do. I want to break the boss and try and increase Meredy's damage by as much as possible. I'm gonna put Meredy in the team. I think I'll probably use DXR for breaking, just because he doesn't do much damage. I think. Maybe it'll work, potentially. I don't know. And then I guess you can be expert for the Slayer. And I don't want you using skills either. And it should be good enough, I would think, so... You need another weapon. Usually that's axe. Yes. That's fine. That's fine. Now, what I want to do this time is I just want to break the boss and see how much damage Meredy can do. So... what arc do I want to use for damage? Is a Theopolis? I'll use Theophilus on someone. Meredy's gonna use... I don't know. I guess you can use Eldravana to the damage camp, but that may not be enough. You can use... I don't really know. I don't think I really need too much, do I? Not really. I guess that's fine then. I'm just gonna see what happens. Main point of this, just to see her damage, still with base skills, but with a few supports. I'm gonna be doing... breaking the boss. That should be fine. There you go. Now the boss is break, and we can use a skill 3 and see how much this does. This should be pretty good. Actually, first thing first, Theophilus. Now, attack boss with a skill 3. This should be doing a lot. This should do a lot. This really should. 160k, I think that was. That was... yeah, the damage against the normal enemies isn't impressive, but the damage against the boss was very impressive. But that was because the boss was in break. That was the only reason, mostly. I'm gonna try that again. Is there a better way of doing this? I don't know. I think this is fine. I could try and kill the other enemies first and just have the boss, but it's fine. I could try that. I didn't even use 3 Emperors. I used Theophilus first this time. They don't really need to be grouped, just the Theo buffs are very good. That should be good enough. It's still funny that DXR is a breaker, you know? It's just hilarious. Now let's see. Do this again. 100... I can't really see the numbers, I'll be honest. Where are those numbers coming from? Oh, that enemy was fainted, so it was like more than double the damage than it was last time. That's weird. That's a weird one. But you can see that the damage can be good, but the enemy has to be in feint or break. And it's kind of difficult to do in a lot of cases, but... I think that was good, honestly. Could try it against someone else, but... would it even work against someone else? What I haven't been trying, really, is Meredy's break. I could try doing that. I still haven't done the story, by the way. I should be doing that, but I'm lazy. Well, I'm not lazy, I'm just playing other games. Kind of. I'm doing other things in this game too, like farming events and stuff. You know what I'm gonna do now? I'm gonna go back to trying her by herself, right? And I want to try and see what her break can be like. So to do that, I don't think there's really any hammers for break. I kind of need a hammer. I don't think there's any hammers for break. I'll check anyway, but isn't most of those are gonna be axes, and she needs a hammer, so I'm not gonna bother with that. But the skills, the one thing I'm interested in, there are a few skills that can increase break, so I want to put those on and just see what the break looks like, just to try that out. There is one of these that gives a break buff somewhere. Twin Dragons gives a break buff. Yup. We're not going to put on anything else, just only things that help for break. Just to see what it's going to look like if you were to try to make a full breaker. Yeah, this. One blade breaker. Breaker. Break boosts. You could, but I'm not going to. I think that's everything. I don't think there's more break than that. There might be, actually. Hammer, mega boosts, high boosts, that stuff. Yeah, I don't think there's anything else that I can put on for break. There might be something. Let me just have a look quickly, and then we'll just see how this does. But personally, I don't think it's gonna be that crazy. Break in general, not crazy most of the time. We rarely get a good breaker unit. I feel like some breaker units are just a breaker by accident because they made their break values too strong. Kind of messed it up on some units. Like when people were comparing Zayix to his shift version and his break values, and it still turns out that normal Zayix has better break on his skill 3. It was just kind of funny. I'm gonna go back down the bottom. I just want to check some of these because there may be something. Like, there may be something for break, but I'll just check these and then I'm not going to worry about it. Yeah, Fate is physical damage, that's MP. Yeah, this one, Attribute Weakness, that's the one I was thinking of. Break. Yeah, that's actually pretty good. More likely to faint and break 50%. There you go. Definitely going to want that. Let's stick with this. Might as well stick with this for now. Just see how this does. I don't expect this to be crazy with break, but I just want to see how many skills it takes. Because you saw how much DXR was doing. He's still crazy. Yeah, the enemy would need to be weak to ice to get that bonus. Which he's not currently. Honestly, not terrible. But not amazing either. Now he's in break. Then I can use a skill 3 and do 80k. Nice. Well, it's something. I could say that. It would be better. You know what I could do is compare this to Zayix for the sake of trying it. You know, fine, I'll do it, but he's not made for a breaker, so his break could be higher than what it currently is. But I just want to do this for fun. I think my Zayix is mostly built for multiplayer, Yeah, that still does a tiny bit more than Meredy. Now he's dead. Yeah, well, obviously he's built and Meredy's isn't, but Zayx could still get more break than that is a thing. And Meredy has a couple skills for break. So, honestly, not terrible. But the way I see it, Zayx still a better breaker, but Meredy still decent break, just not as good, I think. And she does, I think her potential with when the enemy is in break is a lot higher, for sure, because her damage and damage caps increase by a lot when they're in break. 60,000 here, and even more elsewhere, is pretty solid. I'll do that again. If I had purple orb, this would be way better, because I have more skill stocks. Yeah, you can see it's a tiny bit less break than what Zayx was doing, but it's not terrible considering she's single wield, but it could have been way better. Yeah, her break of her skill 2 just isn't enough. Her skill 2 break is her worst skill, so if you remember before, I used 2 skill 3s and a skill 1 to break the boss, but this time I used 2 skill 3s and a skill 2, and it didn't break the boss because the skill 2 isn't enough, and it's actually less than her skill 1, so if you want as much break as possible, you're not going to be using her skill 2, but I think the idea behind this is you use her skill 3 and skill 1 for breaking, and then once the boss is in break, then you start spamming her skill 2, because you should have those skill 2 stocks available, because you weren't using those for break, because they're terrible for break. So, that's probably what I'm thinking. Now he's in break. I want to see if I can get the buff back before... Yeah, the buff's back. Now skill 3. That's great damage, right? It is. It's pretty good. Pretty fun too, but again, nothing crazy. That animation's just funny. She just flies off into nothingness. It's great. Wish you could do that in the actual stages, just fly around that fast. Just go in the air, can't get hit. That'd be great. Some unit needs a levitation skill that puts him in the air so he can't get hit by ground attacks. That would be interesting. There are some bosses that were like that. Anyways, I think that's it for testing for the moment. I could have a full build for her. I just think that I don't want to do it right now, and I've done most of the showcase anyway. The full build won't be too much different, and I don't think she's worth trying in arena right now. I am going to need more investment. I could build her fully right now for arena, I just don't think I want to try that, because my expectations for her in arena, very low. It's like no expectations, but there is a tiny bit of hope that I'm seeing that she could be a decent tank in arena, but I really doubt it. I highly doubt it, because we've got better tanks, and if she's up against a thunder unit, she's probably going to die horribly. So yeah, I don't see her being a tank. I'll take those. I think her survivability is mostly going to be a bonus, and it's not like Jian, where Jian is an amazing tank, but Meredy's definitely behind Jian by a lot. They can't even compare at all, but the only thing they have similar is their paid clothes are similar, in a way. That's the only thing that's similar. And they're both soldier types that nullify soldier types with their paid clothes. That's the only thing. And some people would think, these paid clothes are amazing, probably going to make her good in arena, but not as good as Jian. So let's have a look at events now, quickly, and then I guess we can look at any updates and anything that we want to have a look at. I haven't collected everything here. There actually is a few tickets I haven't used yet, so I'm going to use those. There's one ticket there that I could get. Damn. Almost there. If you plan on summoning on any of these banners, get every single ticket first. Yeah, this hammer you could use on Meredy. When you have it at max level, 10% damage, 500 damage cap, I think it's okay. You could use it if you want. But not her best option. I would say that the Godforge hammer is a better choice. Let me just have a look down here to see what there is. More tickets, yeah, obviously. Mostly looking for the splendors and stuff. Yeah, there's a foreign splendor. Good. And visionary splendor, that's the one I'm looking for. I do need that actually. And that's just kind of it for the moment. Clear flash quests, yeah. The flash quests are pretty good. Let me use my tickets right now. I'm not going to get anything from the tickets, I don't really need anything either because we've got everything already, but we might as well use them because you never know, you could get a dupe of Meredy, which could be okay, but again, it doesn't really matter because she's not going to be someone that needs dupes. Like, I would really like to get dupes of Summer Sera just because she's so good, and most people are using her right now. No raids in here, there wasn't any animations. Knew that would happen, but doesn't matter. Maybe we can save the luck now for the next banner. Good question. Who's going to be on the next banner? I don't know. I'm thinking either a... Actually, I'm thinking about it. There should be a collab coming soon, so keep an eye out for that one. There should be a collab coming soon. I don't know what it's going to be, but I'm hoping it's a rerun of something. Either Dr. Stone or ReZero are the two reruns that I'm looking for. But I still think it's worth pulling for Sera if you don't already have her. And if you really want, you could skip Meredy because this banner isn't super important, honestly. Because Meredy, I don't see myself using her that much. Let's go back to the event. Have a look at what events are on right now. Not too many exciting things. The Grand Ability Gate I should do right now. I think they updated this. Now it has Ultra Clusters. I really need to do that. Like, in a minute. I should do that. Tower of Trials. Beast Mayhem is a new one. I haven't done any of these. Man, since these give crystals, I should really be doing this, but I just can't be bothered to, because it requires building crappy units, and I don't like doing that. I guess I could do that, but I didn't really want to. DXR I have built technically a bit, so I could try some of these, but I've never really cared about this event. Bonus challenge. What is this even for? Wait, you can get ultra clusters from this. Really? No way. Yes way. Well, that tells me something, doesn't it? They want us to do this. 10 cost 10 energy. 1 time per day for 10 energy. I don't... Okay, this is weird. I'm gonna do that later, I think. I'm gonna try this later. There's probably nobody that uses one of those monsters as their support. Nobody does. Yeah. I'll do that later. Trading space for this event is probably mostly... Don't know what this is for. I have a guess. Good. Hang on. There's a lot of stuff I haven't been... This is interesting to me. Okay. I haven't properly looked at that stuff, I mostly just ignored it, but... Okay. Well, that's interesting. That could be interesting, but... Is 6th Enhance for a unit even gonna matter? Probably not. Whatever. Oh, okay, I see. I get it. So... Now you can go up to 6th Enhance. For what? Why would you want to do that though? Like, why? You would not. You really would not want to do that. Like, this is just dumb. Why did they do this? I don't know. Maybe there's something... Let me have a look at the news now, because I just want to read what's in this update properly. I should look at this. Yeah, that's just different one. Where's the maintenance notice? This one, that should be that one. Should be everything in here. Right. I need to remember the button. No. Yes. I want to check everything that is in this update notice, because I haven't properly looked through this whole thing. Obviously, Unit in the Ark we know about already. Some of the event we know about that. Don't need to talk about gachas since we've looked at those already. More events. Beast Mayhem is the new one. Splendors and Ultra Clusters and Souls for monster units. You can select an NPC monster unit as support for some quests, added prisms for each monster unit. Okay, well, this is a bit weird to me just because I feel like I don't even think it's worth doing any of this. Because who even uses the monster units? There are a few that are good, but that's kind of it. The skeleton, yeah, I can see people using him. Vacation medals, unit playtest. I haven't done this thing yet. I could do that. Tower of Trials, this bird type boss. Okay. I haven't tried that yet. Here's the 6th Enhance. We've got 2 monster units, Graphel, Sea Princess, Lilar, and Leona are the 2 that I'm interested in. These 2, maybe Graphel, honestly. These could make them good, but let's see. Lena has obviously more damage cap, special damage cap, less physical damage taken. She is an okay unit, but we don't really use her very much. The damage cap can help a little bit. I just don't think that's enough damage cap. She's a dual wield ice unit, I believe, but I don't think this is enough. If you really want to use her, then yeah, you could get her 6th enhance, because they do get 10 SC every time you get them to 6th enhance. So you could do that if you want. This unit is an interesting one because she's so old at this point. I doubt she's going to be viable ever. Ice magic, damage cap, more damage cap for ice magic, and magic, less magic damage taken, less damage taken. See, this is good, right? It's just, I don't think it's going to be enough. Reason being, I haven't tried her in ages. I know she's got Godforge equipments and stuff. I just never really built her properly, so I've never really used her. Yes, this could make her a decent ice mage for PvE, but do you even need that? And we can just use Linus instead, which has ice magic, so why would you want to use this unit instead? You probably still could, because this is a decent amount of damage cap. I just don't see myself doing that. And then Graphel is a single wield unit, so that damage cap, 15,000 damage cap for single wield, actually going to be quite significant, honestly. So that's a good thing, and less physical damage taken could be good, because honestly, she isn't a bad unit. I just never really used her too much. And she does have things that could help in arena and things like that, but she's just never really been used because she could have always been better than she was. So, yes, okay. These three are not super exciting to me, honestly. I don't know if I'll get any one of these. If I might just look into them, see how they perform currently, and see what the difference is between 5th enhance and 6th, but at the moment I'm not super interested. And then these two, just why? You know, like, why would you bother getting those? You should not get any of these. I'm not even going to talk about these two, but they're there if you want to. The only real benefit you're getting, damage cap, less damage taken. That's kind of it. And then some updates. Godforge Alchemy. Yeah, this is a good one. So, Zestina Sword gets a new Godforge. This one's a very good one. I would consider getting this. So what the effect has always been is when defeating an enemy, you restore 3 seconds of SCT, but the Godforge version now gets 25% ice physical damage, which is amazing. So you could use this on Summer Sera if you wanted to. That could be a good option in like arena or something. You could put this sword on. I might consider doing something like that, but I don't know. I still think this sword is going to be definitely a good sword, for sure. Try to get this at some point, because it's worth having. This sniper rifle is an interesting one. Critical damage when physically attacking and far enough from the enemy, you get more damage. It's okay. Do I see myself using it? Well, it's a dark machine. You could, potentially, like on Lelouch or someone that needs a dark machine, but not really a priority for me. I don't really care too much about this equipment to get it. So this is the one that I got already, but at max level it's 15% skill damage on clothes. Pretty crazy for Godforge clothes. Definitely the best one we've got right now, so make sure to get this one. I think at the moment this sword and these clothes are the two best ones in this update for Godforge that you should consider trying to get at some point. I got this one already. This is the first one I'm getting because I just think it's the best one. This sword I'm probably going to get. Then we've got an accessory. When HP hits 50% or less, give a physical damage buff. okay. It's okay. I don't really care about this accessory though, honestly. I've never really used this one. Yeah. Stun resist. It's okay. I think this sword and these clothes are definitely going to be the two you're going to want to try to get when you can. Clothes, #1 choice for me, and then that's pretty much it. There's a few fixes and stuff, but definitely a more interesting update to me, because having new Godforge equipments is always more interesting to me, in my opinion. Gives me something else to farm. So yeah, let's... Anything else we want to do? Don't think so, honestly. We've almost made it to 2 hours. Isn't really anything else I want to talk about. Everything else I can just do in my own time, like Tower of Trials and everything, all those stages I can just do later at some point. I guess my conclusion for this update at the moment, this update has been okay. A few good changes are obviously the new Godforge equipments are great, and some new events and things are always nice, and 6th enhanced units are okay. Not really anything special with those 6th enhanced unit. I'm waiting for when they make someone like Spirit Maiden Thuria with 6th enhanced would be good, or any other interesting unit like Eliza potentially, or someone that you feel like could benefit from 6th enhance, like Blade Master Bayland. 6th enhance potentially could make him pretty good again with more damage cap. That would be nice. Just interesting units like that that I still use, or I feel like I've stopped using because they're just not as good as I would like to anymore, or just some units that feel like could need it, like maybe Magia or someone could use that 6th enhance, but I don't know. Just have to wait and see what they do, who they do next in 2 weeks. What I think about these banners, I've talked about these banners a lot already, but just for the conclusion, I definitely think it's better to summon on Sera's banner. Sera's banner is way better value. Try to get Sera if you can, because she is a very good unit in both PvE and PvP. Her DPS is pretty solid, it's not crazy, but still usable, and she synergizes very well with Thuria. The Bride Thuria goes super well with Sera. They are an amazing combination. If you've got those two units, you can put those in the same team, they're just going to do super well. Which is funny, because as soon as Thuria's banner ended, we got Sera, which is a long-range dual-wield unit, which is what I was asking for, most people were asking for, so it's kind of funny. But yeah, I still think Sera's banner the one you should be pulling for and pulling on. Meredy's banner, not as exciting, but it's still a decent banner, and everything here on these summer banners are limited, so they're not going to come back for a long time. But if you think about it, in a year from now, you're probably going to be able to get a select ticket to pick one of these for free. So there's something to think about, but a year is a long time, so it's mostly with the arcs. It's not a big deal if you miss one of the arcs, because you could get it in the future for free, maybe. So I just one thing to think about. Meredy, I just don't think she's that exciting. She has some potential, I just don't think she is as exciting as Sera. I think Sera is way better than Meredy, 100%. They are both ice DPS units, which is unfortunate, because Meredy could potentially have been better if she was a different element or had higher break values. You know, she could have been a amazing unit. She could have some good potential. She could still be good. She's definitely still a good unit. It's just there are things that could have been done better with her for sure. The arc on this banner though, I still think this arc is amazing, and Ice Mega Drive will do very well with Sera, which is funny. Making Sera even better, something that you don't need to do, but you could do that if you want, if you get the arc. And yeah, those are those current banners that you should consider pulling on, but if you've got Sera, then you can probably skip the rest and save for the next banner, because I think there should be a collab coming up soon. I don't know what the collab's going to be, but I'm hoping it's a rerun of something. I want there to be a Dr. Stone rerun, because there are a few things in that collab that I'm missing, and that would be quite interesting. And giving those units Sigma Enhance, like giving Sigma Enhance to Jen, and some of those units could be pretty damn good. Like, imagine Jen with his 6 Enhance, allowing him to take less damage, do more healing, stuff like that, more physical damage. He could have some insane 6 Enhance skills and boost that could make him amazing, but that's just me thinking about it. We don't know what is coming next, but just to be aware that there's probably a collab coming soon. There have been a lot of collabs, but I'm pretty convinced there should be a collab either in 2 weeks or 4 weeks or something, because that's just what I'm thinking, and I've heard other people mention it too. It's either going to be a collab or a DOH unit. It kind of has to be at this point, so try and save for those limited things. Try and get Sera, that's kind of your priority at the moment. The arcs, both of these arcs are actually strong and good to have, but they're not something that you must have or need to have. They're just something that would be something that's nice to have that you don't really need to get, you know. So that's just kind of what I think on the banners. I'm going to be having more fun with Meredy. There are still a few more ideas that I have with Meredy, like what I said earlier. Making Meredy a tank in Arena, and making sure she doesn't use skills, and maybe she's going to spam Blizzard or something. There are a few ideas like that I have, but I don't think it's going to work. I want to try it anyways, but it's probably not going to work at all. The idea's there, at least. And since I don't have any other paid equipments, I'm probably going to struggle with that, so probably not even worth trying, but once I've got time, I'm probably going to try that. And yeah, that's the current banners. There isn't really anything else for me to talk about, I think, so I think this update was okay. There were a few good things added, like the new Godforge equipments were quite exciting to me, and I'm looking forward to getting those. Especially those cloves are something that I definitely want to use, because I've been asking for a while that I really want some cloves that I can use on more units, because we don't have really any strong cloves, so that's kind of the first main one that we've gotten, which is great. I'll definitely be using that a lot. So that's everything. Can't think of anything else, honestly. Good luck with your summons if you plan to pull. If you've been waiting for the next summer unit, then just gonna let you know that it's still better to pull on Sera's banner instead of Meredy, because I definitely can see Sera's gonna rate higher than Meredy for sure, but if you want to try and get both, then that's up to you. You could get her from tickets if you're lucky. Just continue the event and daily pulls and stuff for the moment, and just see how things go. And yeah, I think I'm going to leave it at that. I'm going to be continuing. I've got a lot of stuff that I need to do, like the event and Tower of Trials, starting to build a few monster units, so I can start doing some of these, because this is interesting, so I want to try doing that. And this new high difficulty boss and the event that I've already said. Yeah, so I've still got a lot of stuff I want to do, and I'll leave it at that. There should be a collab coming soon. I know I realise I end up repeating myself a bunch of times, but I like to make sure anyways. I will be adding the timestamps very soon later today, so if you're waiting for those, then just wait a little bit and timestamps should be out, so then you can just check whatever part of the video you want to. I think that's it. One thing I just want to show to finish this off is what my current Sera is looking like right now. So My current Sera is fully built, she's got everything learnt, and I haven't really been using her in PvE. I've mostly just been using her in Arena, so that's why she isn't really fully built right now, but she is still amazing. I might, yeah, I think I'm going to try to get Ice Mega Drive on her and start using her more in PvE and maybe multiplayer or something, but before I do that, I need to start focusing on Meredy, so I do have a few things I need to do, and hopefully I can get Myron's 6th Enhance soon, because that would be great. So yeah, that's everything. I'll see you in the next one, which should be 2 weeks from now. I always feel like I need a break after these streams, because I talk way too much for 2 hours straight. Kinda difficult for me, but yeah. I'll see you then. Bye.